Aside from the jet lag, it's been a really pleasant experience so far. Everyone has been super nice to us and feeding us free beer and having a good time so far. Um, Funnily enough, the original title of Harpoon was a boat movie, and it's because we are awful. Me and my producer Mike are terrible at movie titles. And it just so happened that a movie came out the year before us at Fantastic Fest called The Boat. And so we were like, well, we gotta throw that title out. And then it just so happened through a lot of discussion, we realized that Harpoon was a perfect kind of allegory for it's being called one thing, but it's actually about other stuff. And so it kind of felt like in the end that we landed on the right title. Um, the important part to start is just having conversations with them before we all agree to work together, making sure that it's the right kind of person that fits what we're going for. Because they're a certain element they have to sort of embody prior to it. Not that they have to all be jerks in real life, but you just got to make sure that they have that energy that you're looking for. And then Mike Peterson gave us 3 days of rehearsal before we went to camera, which on an indie film is just unheard of. And so for 3 days in the hotel, just me and the 3 actors got to go through the script every day over and over again until we refined it. And they built that. They made sure to go out every night and kind of get to know each other the way 3 old friends should. And I feel between that and just the rehearsal process is kind of what informed their performances for the rest. Because when we got on set, there was no figuring stuff out. It was all sorted out. Especially in the script phase, you got to explore all the options. So for a while, I was just seeing if another person was better doing certain elements of it. But as soon as we landed on what we felt was the right one, they say there's the movie you write, the movie you shoot, and the movie you edit, and all 3 are quite different. So even in the editing room, a lot has changed substantially. The narrator's completely different. What he talks about it used to be more on the nose about the themes, and then we dialed it back to just be more kind of anecdotal and kind of set up a lot of the elements. And it's constantly evolving process that you got to be aware of. It needs to be changing, because if you're too stiff, like, oh, but that's not how I wrote it, you might not end up with the best product. We shot 9 days exterior and 6 days, 9 days interior, 6 days exterior. So we shot all the interiors on a set in the middle of Calgary in the wintertime, not anywhere near a body of water. And then we flew a splinter, like a pared down version of the crew to Belize and shot all the exteriors on a catamaran that we rented there. Aside from the usual hiccups such as weather or just a cloud covering the sun, it actually went extremely smoothly. Belize now has the world's largest natural reef break, since all of Australia's is dying. So the waters remain relatively calm there as long as you stay within the reef break. The only hiccup actually is one of the lead actors, Christopher Gray, decided to tell me once we got there that he actually gets seasick. So he kept that from me for a while, but he managed to take enough. I don't know what he was sedating himself with, but didn't get sick. So it was pleasant though, other than that. You're just waiting for a rain cloud to pass by. The hardest stuff is in Belize, not a lot of stuff is shot there, so you'll have people kayaking by and then just look directly into the camera and be like, hey, what are you guys filming? It's like, move, we got a shot going here. So there'd be a lot of either stopping the camera for that or painted out a ton of sailboats in the background, because it's like a big snorkeling hotspot. And so, that's kind of the biggest challenge. Aside from that, we made sure we knew going in that we had to be efficient with those shots, so we didn't even bring a lighting package. It was just a camera and a bounce board. So everything on the exterior is shot with natural light. And that's just because we knew it's like, let's take away as many of the challenges from ourselves as we could. I am very vocal that it's not enjoyable. It's like the host of the party is never one having any fun, right? So for me, you're just trying to make sure that it all stays together enough that it doesn't fall apart and you either end up with a bad movie or not a movie at all that's worth finishing. So I don't get a chance to enjoy it until after the fact. You go, oh, that was kind of fun, I guess. But it's really a grind. Especially on an indie, 15 days isn't a lot of time to shoot. It's not a lot of time to experiment. You just got to kind of stay focused and make sure that nothing falls off the rails is kind of the way I look at it. I'm sure more people have more enjoyment with it, but my biggest concern is that it doesn't completely come apart. No, all of those were researched, completely researched. And to the point though, like a lot of the superstitions make no sense. Like the redheaded superstition, we couldn't figure out why that is a superstition, and that's why the narrator even says himself, don't know why this is one, but redheads on a boat are apparently a very dangerous thing. But yeah, all of those, some of the stuff we did in pre-production, making sure like the albatross is a big no-no. That's why we made sure to have an albatross statue on the boat. But a bunch of them we had to pepper in after the fact in editing because we just felt like we needed to put a bit more of a build for the second act, part 2 of the film. And so between that and all the cannibalism stuff, it was a lot of research online. I'm always very nervous and very self-aware of what I'm putting together and if an audience is going to enjoy it. Particularly in this one where we were trying stuff that's not normally done, like blending a lot of genres together and doing almost like a Richard Linklater style thriller or horror movie. We were very concerned, it's like, is this going to work? And we had no idea until we started showing it, and quite frankly, we still don't know, but people seem to be giving us positive feedback. So I think if you get to the comfortable point where you're like, yep, nailed it, you might want to reassess because it means you're not learning. Above all, I want to make sure that people are entertained. For better or worse, they could hate the movie, but I just want a reaction, I guess, is a good way of looking at it. I do like the idea, though, that who they're rooting for, not rooting for is maybe the wrong word, because they're all kind of quite damaged people. But I do like the idea of setting up who they think they should be kind of on board with, and then kind of reversing that as the movie goes. Yeah, it's kind of a tough one, especially on this. You just hope that it's very much a lot of my sensibilities. You know, like I'm a gigantic Seinfeld fan. I like very dry humor, that we don't linger on punchlines. I want to keep moving forward, and I just hope, and I have the feeling a British audience is going to get the fact that we're just dropping these deadpan moments throughout the movie. So, I mean, that's kind of the hope, is that you just hope that an audience will appreciate your own sense of humor. There's not a lot of bloopers. Like, it's not, yeah, like I said, it's not really a knee slapper. There's like, you know, the usual flubs. It's a tough one. I try to keep the set fairly professional, you know. I don't, when it's time, especially because we did it very much like a stage play. It's set up in 2 acts. And a lot of the scenes go on for 10, 12 minutes at a time. So, you know, when we're rolling on a 12-minute scene, these actors are having to stay fairly concentrated on these moments, and so I make sure that there's not a lot of distractions for them in that regard. We did have room open for improvisation, but only when we thought it was kind of necessary or needed. But for the sustained tension, that was kind of always a blueprint to make sure that we followed it. But maybe not on set. It's not like, okay, we're doing a serious scene, everyone's got to be quiet, but it's like, I do maintain a certain level of professionalism on set. Not a lot of jokes going around behind. It's hard work, like, and I'm always open. Making movies is a lot of hard work. Learning what not to do, though. I mean, I don't know if it's anything you consciously pick up. Maybe you learn not to interact with an actor a certain way to get the best performance, but that's the problem, is every time it's a relearning process because everyone's different with their process. So you kind of the best thing I always give advice is just, you got to be open and aware about, especially when you're reading people. Like if you can tell an actor doesn't like the way you're giving them notes or ideas, you got to find a way to get into their head and kind of help them get to where you want them to be. So it's kind of just a fluid process. So you're always learning, I guess. I'm writing like a crime thriller right now that might veer a little more towards a more serious tone, but we'll see. Good question. I mean, this happens a lot on Q&As on this movie. They're like, why are you following the bad guys? Why is your focus on the villains? Do you have a problem with people? Are you a cynical person? And I'm always like, no, it comes from a place of compassion. Is I want to know what makes people act this way. And I feel like if we ignore them and don't focus on why they do that, you write a lot of people off, and there's not really room for growth or healing on anybody's part. So that's my rant. It's more compassion. even in on a weird movie like this.